Welcome back to our YouTube channel, The Book Digest. In today's episode, we're diving into a powerful and practical summary of The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. This book, published way back in 1963, is so much more than just a classic of American literature. It's a real landmark.
And that's because it's both a stunning novel and this incredibly intimate account. What Plath did was fictionalize her own severe mental breakdown from the summer of 1953, and in doing so, she managed to transform a deeply personal crisis into a story that feels universal and absolutely timeless. So, to really get a handle on this novel, we're going to follow the journey of its protagonist, Esther Greenwood. We'll kick things off in the gilded cage of New York City, then explore this paralyzing metaphor of the fig tree. From there, we'll witness her descent under the bell jar and follow her path to what's called a cautious recovery. And finally, we'll dig into why this book still hits so hard for so many people. All right, so let's meet our main character. Esther Greenwood is this brilliant college student who scores a dream internship at a magazine in New York City. I mean, it sounds amazing, right? But right away, underneath all that glamour, you can feel this profound sense of disconnection already starting to bubble up. This right here captures Esther's internal conflict so perfectly. On one side, you have the promise, glamorous parties, high-fashion photo shoots. But the reality for her is just this feeling of being completely detached, like she's watching a movie of her own life. That promise of professional success, it just feels hollow. And all the pressure to be on and social just makes her feel even more isolated. And this isolation, it's just amplified by the super restrictive roles for women back in the 1950s. She feels like she's caught between these two extremes. You've got Doreen, who is this convention-defying, sexually free woman, and then you have Betsy, who is the wholesome, proper, good girl. Esther can't really see herself in either one, and that leaves her feeling completely adrift. Okay, so this feeling of being trapped, it builds into one of the most famous and enduring metaphors in all of literature. As Esther starts thinking about the social double standards of her time, all her anxiety about the future just crystallizes into this single, incredibly powerful image. She imagines her future as a fig tree, and this has become this incredible symbol of paralysis. But here's the thing, it's not born from a lack of options, but from having too many of them. It's this feeling that choosing one single path means you lose all the others, forever. So Esther pictures her life as this tree, and every single fig hanging from it represents a different, wonderful future. There's a life as a wife and mother, another as a celebrated academic, an editor, a famous poet, an adventurer. Each one is just this glittering possibility, a whole life she could potentially lead. And this is where you see the devastating logic of her paralysis. She's so terrified of choosing the wrong life and losing all the other possibilities that she just chooses nothing at all. And as she just sits there, completely unable to act, she imagines every one of those bright, beautiful futures withering up and dying right there on the branch. This intellectual and emotional paralysis, it's the crack that finally shatters everything. When Esther gets back home from New York to her suffocating suburban town, she finds out she's been rejected from a writing course she was really counting on. And that's when her depression deepens into a full-blown breakdown. And this leads us to the novel's central metaphor, the bell jar. Esther feels like she is trapped under a giant glass dome. She's completely cut off from the world. She can see it, but she can't reach it, can't feel it. She's forced to just breathe her own sour air over and over, as every sight and sound gets distorted by the glass. It is just a perfect description of the profound, suffocating isolation of depression. Now, Plath describes the clinical symptoms of Esther's illness with just harrowing precision. The first one is a crippling insomnia. I mean, she lies awake for days on end, feeling the sleepless hours just pile up as this relentless kind of torture. And then she starts to lose the ability to do the things that once defined who she was. The words on a page, which used to be her escape, her refuge, now they just blur into meaningless marks on paper. She can't concentrate. She can't lose herself in a story anymore. And maybe most devastating of all, she can't write. The one thing, the one act that gave her life meaning and a sense of purpose, it's just impossible now. This loss is basically described as a kind of death of her core self, and all that's left is this empty shell. Now, this is so crucial. The novel portrays Esther's suicidal thoughts not as melodrama, but with this chilling, brutal honesty. It's presented almost as a rational problem-solving process. From inside the agony of that bell jar,
Ending her life seems like the only logical escape from a pain that feels unbearable and, worse, endless.
So after surviving a suicide attempt, Esther is plunged into the world of mid-century psychiatric care. And what the novel gives us is this unflinching patient's eye view of the treatments and the institutions of the time. Her journey through this system really becomes a powerful social critique. It starts with this traumatic, poorly administered ECT that feels more like a punishment. Then she sees this stark inequality between the underfunded state hospital and the private facility she's later moved to, basically revealing how your social class completely dictates the quality of care you get. And then, in this crucial twist, it's correctly administered ECT, the very same treatment that harmed her before, that becomes a major turning point in her recovery. A really key figure in her recovery is her psychiatrist, Dr. Nolan. And it's significant that she's a woman. Dr. Nolan is the very first person who treats Esther with genuine empathy and understanding. She helps her feel seen, and she gives her the agency she so desperately needs to start healing. So why does this novel continue to have such a lasting impact? I mean, what is it? Well, all of these elements we've talked about come together to make it more than just a story. For so many readers, it's a real cultural touchstone. Well, the novel's enduring power really comes from this rare combination of honesty and validation. It takes the inner life of a young woman completely seriously. It offers this unflinching, raw look at mental illness, and it critiques the intense social pressures of its time. And because of all that, for generations of readers, it has created this profound sense of connection, making them feel so much less alone in their own struggles. And the power of the novel, well, it really lies in Plath's extraordinary prose. Her writing is so sharp and so precise, it's almost clinical in how it observes detail, but at the same time, it's intensely lyrical and poetic. This unique combination is what makes Esther's experience feel both perfectly controlled and just completely terrifyingly raw. You know, one of the most honest things about this book is its ending. There's no magical cure. There's no happily ever after. Esther is getting ready to leave the hospital, but her recovery is presented as something very cautious and fragile. She knows the bell jar could descend again at any time. And so we're left with this final haunting question. She's stepping back out into the world, sure, but the future is totally uncertain. This refusal of a simple, triumphant ending, that's what makes the novel's message of hope, as provisional as it is, so honest, so powerful, and ultimately so very true.